This broadcast from IOF TV is brought to you by T-Cartor and Lumonite.
Hello and welcome back to the Orienteering World Cup, the first round held in Olten in Switzerland. We are looking forward to bringing you two sprint races today. We will start off with the women's race and then move on to the men's. And the top 40 in the World Cup, in the world rankings for sprint will go off within our broadcast window. They will be starting first in reverse order there and be tackling the women's 3.4 kilometre course. Many of the athletes, of course, will have had to make a quick recovery from yesterday's knockout sprints. Those who made it to the final had 3 races within the day, with the qualifier on Friday already. And they're all very, very familiar with the streets around here in this arena, where we've had a little bit of a change in the arena setup, but lots of crowds have made it through to be able to cheer on their favourites. So we've got some beautiful, beautiful shots of the city, that kind of old town, which you can see there, and this very interesting covered old wooden bridge as well. It makes for quite an exciting setting. But the courses will be obviously different characteristics today because of that longer distance, that sprint. They've had a quarantine that is further away from the arena, and it'll be setting up some very kind of different characteristics today of the courses that you will see the challenge. So, as I just mentioned, they were checking into quarantine earlier today, picking up start numbers, and unusually this time it'll be the top athletes like Tove Alexandersson, you can see there, will actually be arriving and will be leaving the quarantine quite soon compared to normally waiting to the very, very end to get their race underway. And this is all about trying to just relax before the race, trying to get in the right zone, do all the last minute preparation, make sure the kit is sorted out and be in the right position to be orienteering and to really kind of attack these courses. Of course, they have no idea exactly what the challenge is waiting for them. But they have been able to see kind of old maps of this course. There's particular kind of subways, passages, underground passages that have been already marked on the bulletin. So they've been able to kind of have a little look at that, and maybe they will be looking at that, trying to visualize some of those spaces as they get prepared in quarantine. So 20 meters of climb on the course. They do start near the top of the hill, and it's a nice run down towards the river and crossing that again. We go into some of these kind of smaller courtyards as well by some of the fountains that we have here, and it should make for quite spectacular orienteering. So Jonas, why don't we have a little look then at this course that is set up for the athletes today?
Yeah, as you can see, we are starting in the southeast from the arena, outside the arena, not as yesterday. It's a suburban area in the beginning. You can see quite many shorter controls, but there will be a few route choices already early here for example, 5 to 6. Quite an interesting one if you see small passage to the south of the house. Important, of course, to get these small decisions right. Then at control 10, we got the first TV control, as you can see here. And also there we will then very soon leave this first area with the suburban park kind of terrain and switch to this school area, 11, 12, maybe the longest leg today. Route choice where you have basically 4 different options to take. Then here we leave the school area again. 13, 14, that's something you mentioned before with these subway passages. They have seen that they could prepare for those passages, so probably not as difficult as it seems here on the map. Then second TV control at control 16, that's also where we enter the Old Town again, where we had the knockout sprint yesterday. So they have to go over a wooden bridge, over the river Are, and enter the city center of Olten. 18-19, interesting because they closed a few of the gates that were open yesterday and opened new ones, so you can't just trust on things you have seen yesterday. And also interesting, 21-22, they opened up a new level on this building, so this there will be, you have to climb up on the rooftop, and the control 22 is located there, so something you haven't seen on the map yesterday. Again here, the first long route, the longest one of the course, 11, 12, and the different options you can go. This red one here to the north, and then over this sport area. There are also different options, a bit more in the middle, something in between here, where you then later on join the red route, would be a possibility as well, or then you go down to the south. You can see it's a little bit longer climbing, about the same. You do the climbing on stairs, or no, not the climbing, but you drop on stairs. Usually it's a bit better to not run down on the stairs compared to if you can just run downhill in other passages. And then you have the blue option as well. It's the shortest one. No, it's not the shortest one of those, but maybe a bit rounder to take, less steps to take. Then 13, 14. Well, we're going to see 3 different options here. I think we can talk about 2. But as I said, they had this one in the bulletin, so they could prepare for this one. It's quite obvious that they have to pass. Yeah, you stay
on the top, go down the stairs, and the control, interestingly, is at the bottom of these stairs. Yes. So it's going to be whether they see this control description.
And actually, I mean, if you're talking about the city of Olten, this is kind of the characteristics. If you ask someone what Olten is about in Switzerland, they say it's all about the railway.
Yeah.
So it's very characteristic that you cross the railway here at this point.
So the purple route, you go down underneath the underpass, up the steps to street level, over the main street that you can see is hashed out, and then down the steps again. And then this one is down the ramp into the underpass, and then all the way along, kind of back up the ramp out of the underpass as well. So there's no steps in that one, but it's a lot further.
And you could see the blue one was way too far to go distance-wise, so I don't think that's really an option.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a levelly nightmare, but as you said, all the athletes have seen this in the bulletin, so they should know. So here we have the start list then. It's the top 40 in the Sprint World Rankings, with the best in the world ranked last. So of course we're going to expect the favourites to be coming from the very, very end of the start list. Who do you want to point out?
Well, I mean, we always have the same favorites, and those are the last starters, Simon Abersold and Tove Alexandersson. But also interesting, I mean, Hanna Lundberg, she went out in the semi-final yesterday. She didn't have to run the final, maybe a bit of an advantage, one race less that she had to do yesterday, so maybe a small advantage there. Andrine Benjaminsen was good yesterday. Natalia Gempel was strong yesterday as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, the best ones in the very end. In the very end of the top 40.
In the very end of the top 40. It's not... beyond imagination that we'll see someone maybe in the top 10 coming from outside these top 40 after the broadcast. So keep watching the GPS, keep watching those live results as well. But this is Josephine Lind, who was the first starter today. She made the semi-finals yesterday, the Danish runner, and looks like obviously she's going to set our first time. So that was her having completed a full race and back into the finish. We can pick up then at the start with Grace Malloy. She's been studying out in America for the last couple of years, been doing a lot of track and field and cross-country races, so been really trying to improve her speed, but not as much orienteering quite from Grace over the last couple of years, but she's got strong results from junior world champs level. And of course, all the British athletes got their eye on the World Championships in Edinburgh this year, but we can follow Grace on this first section, kind of plunged already into some of the detail here in the gardens and on the way to the first control.
And it's very characteristic for this first part of the course, as we mentioned before, suburban, a lot of park orienteering. Many of the legs, you have just the left or right decision to take. You can see it from 1 to 2, or then you have a short leg from 2 to 3 to prepare for the next leg then, which is 3 to 4 and so on. It's often quite quick orienteering, physically quite tough. It's also something that the course planners had in mind because they wanted to kind of exhaust the runners before they get into the tricky bit in the city center. I mean, I don't know how good this will work because even in the city center you have quite many left-right decisions, but you have this levelly, as we were talking about, we have these subway passages which are not that easy to understand if you're not well prepared, and you have this extra level on one of the buildings that's a bit difficult. So maybe if you're pushing a bit too hard in the beginning, you will end up with troubles.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the most technical sprint we've ever seen at World Cup level, but it's not super easy either.
But I mean, it's always a bit of a trade-off. I think you can overdo it as well. If you build too many artificial fences, it gets almost towards a maze you have to solve, and I think it's still about orienteering, you know, about solving mazes.
Well, the maze was in the qualifier for the knockout, so we've definitely already had one of those this weekend. So Isia Basse from France, number 13 there, and we can catch up then. So this is a very interesting part of the course. This is on the way to number 22, and this is Wilma von Krusenfreiner here.
And it's on the rooftop, so this is the section we have been talking about. They have been around this building yesterday, but then this rooftop wasn't mapped, so they just could see the street level, and now they have one level more.
In fact, this is the Stadhuis, like the state building, and they were quarantined inside this building. So they've all been around it. They were leaving quarantine yesterday to go to the remote start for the quarterfinal, but you know, but they're hoping this will be a surprise for the athletes, basically. As we see Wilma von Krusenfreiner from Sweden on her way then towards the last control. So you can see lots of support out there on the streets, and this is the run in here rounding this corner towards the last control. And currently, who's our leader at the finish at the moment? We have Pia Young-Vik in the lead, 15:32. And this looks like it's going to be a good time for Wilma von Krusenfreiner. I think she's going to go into the lead here at the finish. She does go into the lead by just 6 seconds ahead of Pia Young-Vik, so 15:26 is the time for Wilma von Krusenfreiner, with Pia Young-Vik in the second place and Josephine Lind in third place currently. Only 15 seconds across the top three, and I think it's going to be very, very close, I think, some of these races today, just seconds dividing them, as a lot of it is about that running speed through some of these controls here.
And here on the screen we can see a comparison between Martina Ruch and Wilma von Krusenfreiner. This is, as we said before, the first section towards the first TV control. Here we have her, and she's punching there into 5th position. 16 seconds behind.
And you can see her doing a different route choice towards control number 8, maybe taking 2 lots of steps instead of 1. There's the opportunity to do what Wilma von Krusenfreiner did and cross over the sports pitch. as you can see there. But this is a very interesting route choice, of course, that we mentioned earlier. The red and the blue routes are very, very similar. I think the red route is 3 meters shorter, but maybe has a few more bends on it, though,
I mean,
as well.
it doesn't really matter what you take. You have to take a quick decision, and I mean, those 3 meters, you can lose them wherever you want. I think it's quite... The blue one for me is very easy to execute. You don't have to find any entrances, any passages. You can start to prepare, maybe control 13 to 14, this subways there, and then maybe even a bit of take a short, quick look what's coming next and something like that. So it's, but even on the red route, you get the chance to do so. So I think actually, yeah, it's a route choice, but it's not a decisive one.
So we're waiting then at control number 10 for Grace Malloy. You can see she's going to be slower than Josephine Lind, who was in the lead at that point. But here she comes. Here's Grace. You can see just preparing the next control, and to the sound of birds, because there's an aviary in this park for some reason. But there we go, coming through there, 13 seconds down currently at control number 10, and the end of the more kind of suburban park style of racing. So we're live then with Malloy and the GPS tracking here. Now our first look at some of the parts towards the end of the course, and this bridge here, you can see they divided the public from the athletes, and they're heading in towards the Old Town. This is Deborah Stadler.
That's the wooden bridge connecting the southeastern part of the course with the Old Town. And so we have Deborah Stadler coming here. 11 seconds behind Pia Youngvik.
So into the finish, this is Laura Robertson from New Zealand, based in the UK, and looks like she's
a little bit behind.
She's a little bit behind, but looks like she'll go into 7th place there. No, I think she's into 4th place, sorry. So Vilma von Krisenfuena still leading, 15:26, 24 seconds behind is Laura Robertson. So back with Paula Gross here, coming down off the top of this building. There's 2 main staircases up and down from the roof here, and there's good options to use either of them, to be honest, on the way up and down from the roof. And now it's a long run to home then here once you come down from the roof. And the first Swiss on the start list in towards the finish. So you can see she's already, in fact that's a time from earlier on, so they've been running for about 15 minutes here, so we won't look too closely at those times. Here we go. It's confusing for Pia Youngvik there, I think, actually, as well. But Paula Gross goes into joint 2nd place then. So Vilma von Krisenfuena still in the lead. Joint 2nd, Pia Youngvik from Norway and Paula Gross from Switzerland. So 3.4 kilometers done in 15:32. So we can now look. This is Maija Siinaja from Finland. You can just see her deciding to go the different routes here, and it's such a large map. You can see how she's just focusing on a very small corner of the map, but it's really huge.
And you can see down in the left corner, 15:26, the leading time. It's still, yeah, she's on the way to the last control, but as you could see, she has first to climb down from the building, and now she's running towards the last control and the finish. She's a little bit behind at the pre-warning, around 8 seconds.
But there's opportunity to pull up time here. So Paula Gross was 4 seconds behind Pia Youngvik at the pre-warning control, and obviously they've ended up with the same time. So it's really about kind of using that crowd and pushing every inch of speed out of your body on this final stage.
But I mean, we compare her to Vilma von Krusenstjerna. I think she was a little bit quicker than Pia Ljungvik as well. So Sia Noja won't beat Vilma von Krusenstjerna, but she will end up on 4th position right now.
Yep, just those 8 seconds down. And here is the current leader. Looking very pleased to be in our leader's chair today. So let's have a look. We're live then with Rita Maramarose, the Junior World Sprint Champion from last year in Romania. She took a couple of relay medals as well. One of the standout performances from last year's Junior World Championships. And she goes through into 5th place. So a great start. And we've seen a lot of Hungarians do really well at junior level, but struggle a bit more when they come to seniors. So I hope Rita Maramarose is able to change that. And
here's Grace Malloy on the way to the second TV control, just running over the bridge. There are a few seconds left until she will punch that control number 16.
Yeah, you can see she's refolding her map, taking a look at that last stage, and it's quite a good opportunity to plan ahead here. So we'll get her time at the next control. You can see she's a couple of seconds down at this point, but she's maybe caught up some time compared to the first part of the course. And Deborah Stadler here into a new leading time then at the finish, just 4 seconds ahead of Vilma von Krusenstjerna.
And that's interesting because at the second TV control she was 11 seconds behind Pia Ljungvik. But also then at this point Vilma von Krusenstjerna was 11 seconds behind, so a very quick finish by Deborah Stadler here on the last bit of the course.
And I think she looks a bit shocked to be in the lead there.
She looks satisfied.
Yeah, very satisfied. So she's going to take the new leader's chair. So I think this is Alva Sonesson here at control number 10. It is indeed the Swede.
And Alva Sonesson into 6th position, 13 seconds behind Josefin Lind, still leading at that point, but only 5 seconds behind Deborah Stadler.
So we head to the start again. This is Malin Egervik Christiansen made her way into the quarterfinals, I think, of the knockout sprints, into the semi-finals even as well. And just taking the first few stages very, very carefully. So you really get thrown, obviously, into the deep end with the map. You have to be so prepared to go out ready. And
some hesitation by Martina Ruch. So this is just before that building where you head up to the next level. You can see the stairs just here. And you can see she has 1 minute and 15 seconds left until she has to be at the finish in order to be quicker than her teammate, Deborah Stadler.
So this is the 22nd control there. So she's going to go down, up one set of stairs, down the other set of stairs. And it's hard to know here which is quicker. I'd say probably going down the stairs you came up, actually.
And I can tell you that at this control, at control 22, she's only 4 seconds slower compared to Deborah Stadler.
So we'll see what it's going to be like when she gets into the finish then. Because maybe, I can't remember what route Deborah Stadler took. I think we saw her at the finish so unexpectedly that we're not entirely sure if they've taken the same routes. But Martina Ruch looking really strong here. Lots of cheering from the crowds. Come around this corner for the last control and then into the finish.
It's going to be quite tight between the two Swiss runners, Martina Ruch and Deborah Stadler, but I think it will be tough for Martina Ruch to take over the lead.
Yeah, I think it will, but she could just sneak into second. Let's see what she does. So she's too late to take the lead. Where's she going to come? Will she tie with a few of the others? Into third place then, Martina Ruch, just 5 seconds down from Deborah Stadler, 15:22. Still the leading time then at the finish. Let's get some comparison then. We saw obviously Grace Malloy at control 16. And we are live with the Brit now. It's really hard to see where they are, but you can see she's here on the top of the stairs.
And as quite often in city orienteering or sprint orienteering, the GPS is not really something you trust on in detail, but of course you get an indication about which route choices they take, even though in this case we didn't really get anything.
No, but she's gone down a different set of steps, and she's now going to try and use strength to power through the last stages of the race.
Interesting, on the top of the building, she was only 1 second behind Deborah Stadler, so this is going to be very, very interesting now. Grace Molloy on the way to the last control. She has 28 seconds left.
Yeah, so Grace just got around a couple more corners before she comes in towards the finish, and she's going to be really working hard on those last stages as the crowd cheers her in towards the finish.
That actually could be good enough. It will be very, very tight here between Deborah Stadler and Grace Molloy.
See, gritting her teeth and trying to pump her arms. Where is she going to end up? Is it going to be a new leading time? It is a new leading time for Grace Molloy by just 1 second. So a new leader here at the finish, Grace Molloy. And she didn't have the best start, but she's managed to kind of catch up a few seconds towards the end and really executed, I think, the last part of the course very well. Remind me where she was coming over the bridge, as Rita Morosi is now.
This is very interesting because you can see it. This is a new leading time, and if you compare her to Grace Molloy, she's 8 seconds ahead at this point of the race.
Yeah, she is the JWOC sprint champion from last year. Now in her first year as a senior, we'll be hoping to make that such a difficult to transition from the junior to the senior category, but one place where it is maybe slightly easier is in the sprint. Changing up from a long distance is really very tricky, and a lot of juniors take a couple of years to kind of settle into those longer distances, but Rita Morosi is a great athlete.
Interesting here now as well, Alva Sunesson on the way to the second TV control. You can see the time there, 5 seconds left. She was around 3 seconds behind at the pre-morning. So very good race so far by Alva Sunesson, only 2 seconds behind the leader at this control, Rita Morosi from Hungary.
Really taking a nice flow through that control, very, very well prepared, different route compared to that taken by Grace, as she looks back at the level section there and tries to kind of take a little bit more detail there of exactly what that was. It's a building they were quarantined in yesterday, but the map completely changed compared to yesterday's races as they open up some of the steps.
And now we're following again Alva Sunesson on the way to control 20, I would say. Maybe 18.
Yeah, I think she's on her way through to this garden here, though we saw them in yesterday, but actually they've changed the map here again as well, right?
Yeah, they have closed a few of the gates where they entered yesterday, so now you have to find different entrances. So here was one yesterday to the right. You can't use that anymore today, so you have to go all the way around, either to the right or to the left. Actually, I think it would have been better for her to go to the right.
And then there's 2 controls in here. Let's catch up with Rita Morosi then. She's coming down the steps towards control number 21, and then there's a choice whether she goes back on herself or keeps going there. There's 2 different sets of stairs. This is... she's about to... This is a mistake.
This is going to be a mistake.
This is a mistake. Yeah, this is a mistake.
So now
she should have gone up those stairs.
She didn't really understand this level problem.
So she should have gone up those stairs. So now she's running essentially 3 sides around the building, because she's going to go up the stairs around this corner on the right here. And if she'd kept going at that previous control and turned left, she'd have got to those steps much quicker. So this is a mistake here then from the Junior World champion.
I mean, you could see just before when we got her into the picture that Nicoline Friberg-Klusner, we saw in the picture, she left the control almost at the same time, and now she's already leaving that building again. So quite a big mistake here by Rita Morosi, and I don't think she will take over the lead now.
And of course, I guess this is kind of what the course setters, the organisers were hoping for. They knew that the athletes had been able to prepare the subway sections by the railway, but they've not been able to prepare this because they've opened all these steps up. Although I'm sure if you did some Google Street View and some satellite picture, you'll have seen that up there as well.
If you see those kind of thing on the map now, of course you couldn't prepare for it, but if you see it on the map, like, you should really you should get an alarm in your head that okay, here you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, and you've got to invest some seconds in understanding that 3D representation of the levels on the map and trying to understand exactly what that means. Let's go back then to the first TV points.
And interesting, here you can see Cécile Calondry started very well into this race. You can see she's just a little bit quicker compared to Deborah Stadler. And very soon at control 10, we'll get her to the first TV control.
Just a note, Rita Maramurosi just about to cross the line here then at the finish as we take a look at Cécile Calondry, and she's dropped into 7th place there, 12 seconds down, having been 8 seconds ahead of Grace Molloy at the previous TV control. So mistakes there at the end for Rita Maramurosi, who will catch up with Cécile Calondry.
Behind Cécile Calondry, you can see it here, punching the TV control. Just a little bit behind Josephine Lind, but we also know that Josephine Lind dropped quite far behind until the finish, so a good start there for Cécile Calondry. But back with Alva Sonesson on the way to the last control and the finish.
Yes, so we catch up with her at the finish. Let's see, it's looking very, very good for the Swede here as she's about to punch this last control. You've got to take the time to the pinch of salt because they're not quite right. But look at that time counting down towards the time of Grace Molloy. That's the one you want to look for, the current leader. But Alva Sonesson is going to take a big gap here, 16 seconds. Impressive work there from the Swede, 15 minutes and 5 seconds. She's going to be the new leader and will be able to take her place in the leader's chair.
And interesting, I mean, at the second TV controls, she was 2 seconds behind. Now she's 16 seconds ahead. And I think we saw her taking another route up on that building. So quite quick finish here by Alva Sonesson.
Yeah, you can see the way she's lunging with the sport ident for the line and to get that quickest time when we know there's just going to be seconds dividing some of these
very
runners.
Important also to stop your watch exactly at the finish line.
Of course. Let's head back to the start then. This is Marika Taney taking her map out from the start, folding up that really quite a big map, and then there's a few, still a hesitation there. It's good either way then, really, to get to that first control, and Alva Sonesson's just gone to go and download. So Grace Molloy will vacate the leader's chair. So having been beaten then by 16 seconds at the moment. Let's head back out on the course.
Sandra Grossberger. And she's also now on the way to this building with the different levels. You can see it here.
Yeah, that was the 20th control that she just punched.
You can take, later on, you could take those stairs up there, but she has to go and punch the control. So either you continue here around the corner to the left, or you back out again and take the stairs where you have been coming from. She can't decide where to go.
I wish we stayed with her a couple more seconds to see if she made that, but you can see she's just investing those seconds to really try and understand that map and which way she's going to go. Natalia Gempeler then here, one of the big favourites, third place yesterday in the knockout sprint. She's got a silver medal from the World Championships back in 2021 in the Czech Republic, and also took second place in Česká Lípa, the World Cup final last year. So lots of good sprinting in the Czech Republic for Natalia Gempeler, and she's definitely one of our favourites. As we see, Maria Olausson was into joint fourth there, joint with Vilma von Krusenfreiner. So pretty good run then for Maria Olausson, who we often more kind of see as a forest orienteer. But this is Sandra Grossberger then trying to navigate back down these steps, having, I mean, a good down the steps technique is very important for this race. A lot of the height you're losing from going down some stairs. And you can see Sandra Grossberger is going to be too late to challenge the lead of Alva Sonesson.
She was 20 seconds behind at the pre-boarding. There she was in a shared 4th place together with Martina Ruch, but Martina Ruch dropped behind between the pre-warning and the finish. So let's see where Grossberger will go in, on what position she will end up here.
So Grossberger punches this last control, and just the finish straight for her now. Very experienced Latvian, but she's gonna, you lose a few seconds and you drop a long way down the results list, but into 7th place still for Sandra Grossberger. So 15 minutes and 30 seconds for the Latvian.
And the next one we expect to come to the pre-warning and then to the second TV control. You can see it here, Cécile Gallandry, and it looks good for the French runner. Compared to Alva Sunesson, here we have her in the picture, and you can see still she has 25 seconds left, so definitely a new best time here at the second TV control.
Yeah, Cécile Gallandry was really attacking for me in the semi-final. Looked really, really strong. I think sitting on I think it was Natalia Gempeler's shoulder. Didn't make it through in the end, but she did look very strong orienteering. Of course, 11 seconds quicker than Maura Morosi.
But that I don't think is the best option to the 17th control.
Not quite. And Isabel Toledo from Spain now here in towards the finish. One of the best of the Spanish athletes alongside Maria Prieto. And this is good time here from the Spaniard, a fantastic result into 4th place, just 18 seconds off the lead. And great to see a good run from her. Let's get back towards the start then. This is Alina Gempeler. A couple of years now into her senior career. And really confident out of the start then as well.
Former junior world champion in sprints. And you can see here the comparison, Grace Molloy compared to Natalia Gempeler and Alva Sunesson.
I don't think this is right for Grace
No, I don't. It's not really synced, I think.
No.
The tail there, can't be. I think compared Natalia Gempeler to Alva Sunesson is maybe more right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, ignore Grace on that one. But yeah, you can see that Gempeler has had a fantastic start. A lot of the controls around.
Here she comes through the playground.
Yeah. There's some quality playgrounds on this map, just got to say that. And those are some of the obstacles she's got to face. But that was the 8th control then. We'll get the time at the 10th control. This is a fairly kind of straightforward section of orienteering, but I wonder if she's kind of using this as an opportunity to kind of look ahead.
But at the pre-warning, she was 6 seconds ahead of Josephine Lind, and we also know that Josephine Lind, not really the one we are comparing to when it comes to the result in the finish. So good start for Natalia Gempeler. 16 seconds ahead of Josephine Lind. 16
seconds at this kind of 1/3, maybe slightly over 1/3 of the way around the course. Yeah, probably between a 1/3 and a half. That's very impressive. Okay, let's have a comparison then of the athletes here on the last section. We're looking for Cécile Gallandry, and she is completely stopped at that control. The next one's fairly simple, but maybe she's using this as an opportunity.
But actually, that's what I'm talking about.
This
with
is
the
weird
alarm.
on the map, though, here with this underpass, actually, because it's marked very differently to how it was yesterday, and it's a little bit confusing, actually.
And it's also what I was talking about. When you see this, like your alarm should go off. I mean, it's very obvious that she sees the problem coming, and she's very careful here. Maybe a bit more experience compared to Rita Maramarosi that we have seen before.
But just spot the little staircases when you've got the kind of the little triangle chevrons, the teeth that show the different levels. It's really hard to just actually see all that detail on the map. But she's done a really great job here, investing those seconds into getting it right, rather than doing a kind of what Marita Maramosi did and was going 3 sides around the square of the building. And also when you see another runner coming down the stairs, when you're going up the stairs, you can see it's a good route choice to come straight back down exactly the same stairs.
You don't see if it's a good route choice, but you see that it's an option. So
yeah.
but it does help definitely to see other runners. It gives you a bit confidence. But let's see here, Calondry on the way to the last control and the finish, and I think that there is definitely a possibility for Cécile Calondry to take over the lead now from Alva Sunesson.
Yeah, she's looking incredibly strong, and she's had good times throughout all of the TV controls that we've seen her at. So it's just the last stages, the last control is here. And she showed good sprint form yesterday in the knockouts. And on the very different test today on this individual sprint, she is going to come in with a new leading time then. So French athlete Cécile Calondry, time hasn't quite stopped there, but it looked like about 11 seconds or so in the lead.
And definitely the first one under 15 minutes now. We saw that the expected winning time around 30 minutes. I don't really think we're going all the way down to 13 minutes, maybe just below 14. We'll see.
We will see indeed, but we're into the top 10 now of the start list. This is Emma Biesmo. She didn't qualify out of the into the knockout finals in the last couple of days on a very, very wet race on Friday, and spent quite a lot of the winter over in New Zealand with Tim Robertson, with her husband.
And I can also tell you that Cécile Calondry was 14 seconds quicker compared to Alva Sunesson, so her time at the finish 14:51.
Here's Ida Egervik Christensen. Remember, she made it through into the final of the knockout sprints yesterday, ending up in 5th place. Looked very good achievement for the Danish team to have her in their complete setup, in the different kind of setup now in the Danish team, in the national team, bringing in a few more coaches recently and really changing their funding model around. And, you know, it's more about this kind of new Danish talent, the young Danish talent trying to come through, and obviously they've had lots of success before, but it's now great to see some more of that being developed with the likes of the Egervik Christensen sisters. So she's going to be definitely outside of the top 2, but it still might be enough to sneak into 3rd place. As the top 3 quite spread out at the moment, and yet she's going to go into 3rd place there, pushing down Grace Malloy into 4th. This is Natalia Gempela.
On the way to the Wilden Bridge, and with that also on the way to the second TV control, and you can see the time there. She's much quicker compared to Cécile Calondry.
Yeah, so we get the time at basically just after this bridge, and she's already halfway across it. This is going to be a huge lead for Natalia Gempela.
She's going to be more than half a minute quicker compared to Cécile Calondry, and from here it's about 3.5 minutes left to the finish. So now it's this kind of maze at this different level building left for Natalia Gempela.
Look at that, 36 seconds. Fantastic. That was the control just before the bridge. Taking the stairs 2 at a time. And the crowd here at the arena are getting very excited to see a Swiss runner in towards the finish. Let's have a look back then. We are live with Alexandra Hornick. So you can see she's not quite as quick as Cécile Calondry, but we don't have Gempela's GPS on this picture.
But we can tell you that Natalia Gempela was 6 seconds quicker to control 10 compared to Cécile Calondry. So she's not that far away from Natalia Gempela either. Now running over the playground as well. Wait, that was a tight one.
It was a close one. Small children and dogs tend to do that to you when you're running towards them. It's an occupational hazard. But Hornick, you can see, so we know that she was already behind Natalia Gempela. So maybe going to compare her with some of those a little bit further down the results list. There's control. So into third place then, 18 seconds down, but definitely in touching distance of a top 3 spot.
Not really the best route choice there over the playground. I got the feeling about it. She was a bit far to the left.
Yeah, well, you can go through the ropes, or you can go like around or over these like
Kempele managed that quite well going through the ropes.
She was very strong through there. Hedvig Valbjørn Goodson in here towards the finish, and you can see looking there at TV1 and TV2 just 6 and then 15 seconds down. This is compared to Cécile Calandry, but could Goodson be looking for a top 4, 5 here, maybe at the finish? He's working hard on these last stages.
Maybe even top 3.
Maybe even top 3. Yeah, top 3. Fantastic work then, and she actually goes quicker than her teammates into third place. So more depth from this young Danish squad. And this is Natalia Gempele into the tricky section here. So on her way to control number 21. Let's see how well she is prepared for this. Has she managed to understand the levels, of course, in a big lead here. You can see she's caught up Marika Taney there ahead.
And now you can see how it kind of affects you when you have another runner in front of you. She got a little bit of help. I mean, Marika Taney did kind of the hesitation job for Natalia Gempele. So now she can follow her. And on the top, we will get the pre-warning, so we get a time indication, at least we, on our screen. So interesting now to see. She should be in a very clear lead. She was 36 seconds ahead. Now she is 38 seconds ahead of Cécile Calandry. So in about a minute, we will get Natalia Gempele to the finish and then have a new leader there. Quite a clear one, and then close to those 14 minutes.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt we'll see a new leader here in Natalia Gempele. Yeah, starting for me like quite early in the start list. She must not have as good world ranking points for sprint as I would have expected. But Natalia here on the last stages of the race, of course, former Russian, now in her second season running for Switzerland. As she's not allowed to run under a Russian flag. So on her way here into the last control, it's a clear leading time. Of course, she was third yesterday in the knockout sprints and is always listed among the favourites. She's such an all-round athlete. And it's going to be a clear new lead here. So 36 seconds ahead of Cécile Calandry. But that's about the gap she had at the TV2 control. In fact, it's exactly the same gap. So
she had 38 seconds
no, that was
at the pre-warning.
Yeah, but indeed. At the TV2, so from TV2 just across the bridge to the end, matching the time of the French athlete.
But maybe not the best exit then down from the rooftop, because she has quite a good speed.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best exit there, so possibility for later starters to maybe regain a few of the seconds if they lose.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But at the moment she's still in the lead at every pre-warning and radio control we have on our screen. The next one we should get to the second TV control. Alexandra Hornik was in third position at the first TV control, 18 seconds behind there.
But we're live with Caroline Olsen here, so the green dot for the Swedish athlete, here she is.
And Caroline Olsen seems to have opened this race quite good as well.
Yeah, a runner full of character. If you haven't seen any of her interviews, if you're new to this elite orienteering, go and watch some of the interviews that Caroline Olsen does, because she doesn't hold back with her thoughts, and she's had a great result here. This is into second place.
And here we have Alexandra Hornik in the picture on the way to the second TV control. You can see there she's behind Natalia Gempele, but she's not that far behind.
No, at TV1 you can see she was 18 seconds down, and it's going to be a few more than that at this point, but not loads. It should be comfortable into second place here.
And not the best exit from that control. but it won't differ so much.
Back at the start then, this is Teresa Yanashikova, one of those who didn't qualify for the knockout sprint finals, so perhaps some fresher legs than for the Czech athletes. She's our third to last starter, and yeah, quality runner in all disciplines now. We'll see if she's able to match the challenge of this. Of course, it was a very, very different challenge today where there aren't many kind of barriers really in place. There's a lot about the speed compared to 2 days ago for the knockout qualifications, which had the big maze. It was very, very different style of sprint orienteering.
And here on the screen we have Hanna Lundberg compared to Natalia Kempele and Cécile Gallandry. You can see that she dropped a little bit behind here.
But I think it's taken a good route choice here into control
definitely.
6.
She's not that far behind. Actually, I can give you the pre-warning. 8 seconds behind Natalia Kempele. So quite a good start for Hanna Lundberg as well.
So we're going to catch up with her then, hopefully on the stairs down here. This is the stairs.
We're looking for her at the school here.
At the school, yeah. This is the stairs on the way to control number 8. And she'll either come down the steps on the left or will cross over this sports pitch on the right. She'll come down the steps, as you can see.
Yeah,
I think the other routes may be better. It's hard to tell though. And we'll watch her stairs technique as she makes her way to towards control number 8.
I mean, the difference between the two routes is that you don't have to take the kind of downhill on the stairs, and usually that's quite a good thing because you have to slow down to run downstairs. But in the picture now, one of the 2 very big favorites for today, Simona Abersold.
Yeah, she was second in yesterday's knockout sprint. She is a reigning silver medalist in the World Championships. But Hanna Lundberg here will follow her through.
And as you said, it's either dogs or children entering the picture.
Honestly, every time I run past a dog, I'm just worried about like stepping on it.
You can see here she's no threat so far for Natalia Kempele, but maybe for Caroline Olsson.
Yeah, this is the control here, and I think it'll be very similar times. There we go, exactly the same there between Olsen and Lundberg. So still all to play for. So we're live with Alexandra Hornick here as noises for Elina Gempler at the finish.
Into 26th position, just to give you that result. But back with Hornick on the way. She's not very well prepared for this.
You definitely don't want to go down there. You need to go up instead.
She might not have been very sure if the
level
if it was below or up on the top.
Yeah, I think that's very, very fair. Here's the last starter, though, Tove Alexanderson, the absolute favourite for today's race. Of course, was winner of the knockout yesterday. Previous world champion in this discipline, but...
Previous world champion in every discipline.
Well, in fact, when she won that world title was in 2021, where she won every single race at those world championships in the Czech Republic. We'll talk more about her, though, I'm sure, later in the competition, but we can take Alexandra Hornick then through towards the end, and she must have gone down the other steps, I think, as we try and catch up with her.
It's a stressful situation for the camera person here.
Exactly, as they can go down 2 different steps. Really getting cheered on here.
You get almost a bit of the Tour de France feeling here when people start to run just besides. But Hornick on the way to the finish, and I think this will be a 2nd position for Alexandra Hornick.
Yeah, it's looking good for the pole here on the last stages, and should be enough to come in ahead of Cécile Gallandry. It is, so 2nd place there for Alexandra Hornick, just 28 seconds slower than Natalia Gempler.
And I think we're gonna switch very soon to the 2nd TV control. Here we have her, Caroline Olsson on the way, and you can see this is a replay, so she is already punched there, 28 seconds behind, but only 3 seconds behind Hornick. And what I think a better exit from the control.
Yeah, it's a little bit more smooth there. They're probably very similar in terms of the distance. There's not much in it, maybe a second or so. But
yeah, always something.
Exactly, a second can count, exactly, in sprint orienteering. So we can follow back then with Caroline Olsen, and she's on her way through towards the 18th control. This section's very familiar to those who made the finals of the knockout sprint, and lots of these narrow passages to go through.
This is Jana Sikova on the way to the first TV control. A very good start for Teresa Janosikova into 4th position, and with that we also know that one of the next runners should be then Simona Abersold, and then just after Abersold, of course, Tove Alexandersson.
Yes, so into the last 3 athletes at this point here in the park.
Yeah, we have the comparison. As we said earlier, not really sure about the GPS sync of Natalia Gambale at this point.
No, that's a good point, but I much prefer her route choice here to control number 8.
Yeah,
you drop the heights on the slope rather than on the steps, and it means you can just really pick up that speed, and it's good to kind of cross the section as well.
Another one through the ropes.
Yeah.
And
very
look at the
nice.
time. I think that looks very good for Simona Abersold. It will be quite similar compared to Natalia Gembele, but she won't be far behind if so.
I don't know, I think she's going to come in behind Gembele here. We'll get the time, not at this control, but at the next one. Getting
Small
trapped
extra
here.
loop, but she won't be that far behind. No. It's just a matter of a few seconds.
So the gap is 5 seconds then, and Abersold almost matching that time with Natalia Gembele, who is our current leader at the finish. There she is, indeed, looking quite happy there on the leader's chair.
And here we have Hanna Lundberg as the next runner, coming to control 16, and the TV control, here we have her in the picture, and the time, I think she's gonna be maybe just ahead of Alexandra Hornik.
Yeah, looks like the two of them were very closely matched on the GPS tracking there. So
she will be behind Hornik.
And not your preferred route choice out of this control. It's not bad. I love to see how many crowds there are out watching, spectating the races. It is really quite exciting to see. So we're live then with Tove Alexandersson. Here she is. And I think, it's probably very similar to Abersold here.
It is indeed. I think she had 17 seconds here as well at this point.
Yeah,
she was 2 seconds behind Abersold at the pre-warning. But then also the Abersold had exactly the same time as Gembele. I think it was the route choice out from 7 you mentioned before that made a small difference in Gembele's favor.
So Alexandersson here, not in the lead. Her time is going to be 7 seconds slower than Natalia Gembele.
But still 2 seconds behind Abersold. That shows that they have a very similar speed in the beginning here.
This is going to be very exciting, and I'm sure we're going to get lots of shots of Natalia Gembele. She knows how close it is here. But really, a lot of the time when you see the the winners of the race, they can make the difference at the end of the race, where it gets a little bit more physical.
If you make the difference physically, then, everyone who's been running a 5,000 meter once, you know that the point where you start to lose a lot of time compared to the quickest one is after like 10, 12 minutes. So it's, and of course it's the same kind of physical challenge here. So if you're stronger physically, you will start to know after 10 minutes.
And maybe this is the case for Caroline Olsen here, who is going to come a whole minute slower than Natalia Gembele. Still a decent kind of position, though. And Caroline Olsen crosses the line into 7th place then.
But she lost a lot of time in this last bit. She was 28 seconds behind at the second TV control. Now it's more than a minute, so there must have been a few problems at this control 22 we have been talking a lot about.
So just to recap then, all our athletes have been through TV control number 1, which is control number 10 if you're following along on the GPS tracking as well. And those 3 favourites for me, Gempele, Abersold, Tove Alexandersen, who were the top 3 in yesterday's knockout sprint. A little gap back to the rest of the pack. Here's Rosie Janashikova. She was the 3rd to last starter here, and you can see her time is already slower than Natalia Gempele, but I think it's going to be slower than Hornick as well. But I
think she will just be behind Hanna Lundberg, somewhere around 35 seconds behind.
Yeah, here she comes. I think was quite disappointed not to make it into the knockouts yesterday. And is a 5th place then currently for Janashikova.
And next runner to come here to this second TV control, you can see it on the screen, Simona Abersold. Don't mix it up here with the GPS. She's much closer to Natalia Gempele than it looks.
Yeah, it's really hard to get the GPS right in the subways.
So half a minute left until she has to be on the other side of the river at the second TV control.
And she's got to deal with all of this. It's incredibly distracting as well. Well, I think she's such a pro that she knows how to stay in her race and use this to her advantage as well. When you have someone trying to cheer you up those steps, you've got to try and use it.
It's not that distracting. At this point, you know you have to just run over the bridge, so it's no big challenge technically.
So then, can Abersold match Gempele then? It looks like they're going to be neck and neck. 1 second behind. Goodness me, it is so close here with just the final part of this race to come. Not sure Gempele took the right route off the top of the building though, so we wait and see. Here's Hanna Lundberg at the finish, and you can see she's going to be outside the top 2. Will she make it into 3rd place at the finish here? She does indeed. So Hanna Lundberg into 3rd place then, the young Swede.
And now things are really happening, because next one to the second TV control is going to be Tove Alexandersen, and it's going to be so interesting to see if she's still up there together with the 2 leading girls.
Eve van Dongen, a bronze medalist in the World Champs knockout sprint, in towards the finish here.
Far behind.
She's into actually 36th place.
Don't even try to build up some excitement there. 2.5 minutes behind.
Yeah, the Dutch athlete living in Sweden. And here we can see then the difference in those runners. This is Tove Alexandersen.
But she's behind.
She is behind.
She's about 10 seconds behind Simona Abersold.
I think you are right there.
So we're around 10, 11 seconds behind Natalia Gempele as well.
So we will get her time at the other end of this bridge. And this is very intriguing to see, as we said at the last part, quite a tricky part of the course when you're fatigued, not thinking quite as quickly as you were at the start of the course. But Alexandersen is going to come through into 3rd place here. Let's look at the time compared to the leading 2 Swiss athletes. So Alexandersen is 13 seconds behind Natalia Gempele. So it looks to me it's between Gempele and Abersold, but it's Tove Alexandersen. You never want to write her out. It's only still 13 seconds.
It's still not much time between the runners. You can see here Andrine Benjaminsen on the way to the finish. She will be maybe into 5th position here.
Yeah, she is another of the finalists in yesterday's knockouts to sprint. So 3 races in her legs and into 5th place there for the Norwegian. Here's Janashikova then on the roof.
You can see only 33 seconds left until she has to be on the finish, but more interesting for us, Janashikova, always kind of a pre-warning that very soon
we'll see Abersold and Alexandersen at this very point here. So down the steps of Janashikova, you can see she's running out of time to beat this woman here, Natalia Gempele. Still in the leader's chair. A lot of nerves, I'm sure, there, because she knows her main 2 contenders are on their way.
And very soon we should be able to see Simona Abersold at control 20. Usually we get a running cam there.
Yeah, you can see different route choices there. You've got to obviously take the GPS with a pinch of salt, because it's very tricky to get the routes in between the buildings. But Janashikova from the Czech Republic in towards the finish here. She's looking for a top
3 maybe.
Fighting hard here on these last stages. Can she end up with a top 6? And she has a good sprint finish because she's into second. Very strong finish, and maybe that's not having raced yesterday. Here is Simona Abersol, but she stops here at the top of the building. She's going to take the Gempela route, but not quite the fluidity of her Swiss teammates.
And I think she dropped a little bit behind Gempela there. I think she did a small mistake towards control 20 where she didn't get, where she ended up and had to turn a bit on the way.
Yeah, so the seconds tick down, and I think it's not quite going to be Abersol's day, maybe making some mistakes in the last stages. It's really hard to tell with the GPS, but certainly some errors there. So hesitations on the top of the
It will
race.
be very interesting, though, to see how she will end up compared to Tove Alexandersson, because she has to keep on fighting if she wants to beat Alexandersson. She will not beat Natalia Gempela, that's for sure.
No, she will not. She's too late for that. So Natalia Gempela, her win is looking more and more likely with every second. But what is going to be the time here for Simona Abersol, who will have made mistakes in the end? The line is coming for her, and the time is 12 seconds slower than Natalia Gempela. She collapses across the line, and now we wait for the final starter. Here she is, but she's doing the Rita Mara Morosi mistake, but she stops and she turns back. It's quite...
Oh, she has to go up there. She's doing another mistake. Now it's going to be interesting if she even will end up on in the top 3.
Because she could have gone up those stairs that we just saw, the ones with all the gaps in, and now she's going this way, and she's still weaving her way in and out here, up these steps, but she should have kept going at the control. She came back, she had to turn around.
You could really see how kind of the stress was kicking in when she realized that, okay, it's not on that level, I have to find a way up, and then she didn't look carefully enough that she could use the steps just beside her.
So she takes a few steps beyond the controls. She's going to come back down these stairs. I think that's good, but it's looking great for Natalia Gempela.
It's not only looking great, she's going to be the winner of today's race. If we won't see a very big surprise after the top 40 at least.
So Alexandersson on her way towards the finish. We watch out for her here at the arena. The time is already too late, so there is your winner. But how much is that mistake going to cost Tove Alexandersson? Yesterday she won her 47th World Cup title, but it's not going to be number 48 for Alexandersson today.
And we know that Janosika, you can see it now, 27 seconds behind. This is going to be very, very tight.
Yeah,
I don't think she's going to be Janosika.
I don't think it's going to be enough, no. So I think Alexandersson will be outside of the top 3 then on this race. She will be outside, maybe just sneaking into 6th. It's going to be close with the time of Cécile Calandry, where she crosses the line and it's 7th. So Alexandersson outside of the top 6, that kind of podium that we see of. And that puts Natalia Gempela for the win today. She will commiserate her friend here, who has given it everything, but that was a mistake there. And Natalia Gempela starting outside the top 10, taking the win, upgrading from the 3rd place yesterday for the win today.
And a very good race by Natalia Gempela. I mean, we saw a little bit of hesitation there on the last part around control 21, but I mean, compared to others, compared to Tove Alexander, was really it wasn't a mistake, and she had help there by Marika Taini that showed her maybe this, the steps up and took away a bit of the hesitation there for her. So, but of course, I mean, you have to notice and you have to be able to take quick decisions, even if the decision is about following others.
Yeah, but she made the damage, she made the gap on that first part of the course. If you think she had a 36-second gap at that TV Control 2, then she matched like the French athlete Cécile Calandry. So not gaining any more time, but not really losing any time. But she'd already put in so much great work in that first part of the course.
But I mean, at the second TV Control, she had exactly the same time as Abersol. So I think the difference really was keep calm in the very end, and she did that perfectly. So, very well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the standings at the finish. Simona Abersol with another second place. Teresa Janashikova, this must be her first World Cup top 3 performance, and Natalia Gemperle with the win. It was 12 seconds in the end. I mean, great shout out for Alexandra Hornick in 4th, Hanna Lundberg in 5th as well. I think
at least the first individual top 3, because they ended up in top 3 at the sprint relay in Czech Republic, I guess, where she did a very good race in the last lane.
And in the forest relay in the European Championships as well. But I think that's her first individual top 3. And she's very, very pleased with that.
And here we can see the recap with the GPS. You can see that Gemperle already, as you mentioned before, already in the beginning with a very good race. You can also see that all 3 of the top 3 runners today took the good route choice to control 6. It seems like a big gap there. At control 10 it wasn't really. There it was 5 seconds between the runners. Then we got into this second part here with the subways, different route choices here to 14. And then control, the second TV control. Also here we know that the gap between Gemperle and Abersol actually only was 1 second at control 16. Different routes to 18 and 19. Abersol here, I think she lost a bit of time to control 20. It's hard to see. I mean, all this GPS here is a corrected version. Where all these kind of dropouts from the GPS were corrected. But I think we're going to have a quick word now.
Tell us about your feelings here in this crowd.
Yeah, I was making a few mistakes on the end. They were not mistakes, but road choice, time lost, and I thought that when they don't do it, so they can overtake me. So I was very nervous at the end.
But when you came to the finish area, you said it may be a podium. Did you also realize that it could be the victory?
Because I didn't do it perfect. I thought it can be everything. But I gave everything what I could physically, so it was enough.
Und jetzt, als du sicher warst, dass du gewonnen hast, da bist du durch die ganze Menge gelaufen mit der Schweizer Fahne, hast dich feiern lassen. Was war das für ein Gefühl?
Unglaublich. It was so, yeah, it's perfect. Das ist fantastisch hier zu Hause mit dem Flagge gehen. So, das ist ein Traum. So, wir haben immer geschaut, wie so Schweizerinnen so machen. Egal wo, es gibt immer so viele Schweizer Fahnen. Und das war fast ein Traum, so machen.
Und für diesen Traum hast du ganz viel gearbeitet und wir durften dank dir riesige Emotionen erleben. Herzliche Gratulation, Natalia Gemperle.
So the win there for Natalia Gemperle, interviewed in front of the crowd, and I guess she wasn't certain of the win. She knew it wasn't quite as smooth as she liked, but she really had the pace and she did the damage very, very early on.
Well, the damage to the others, yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. She did the damage early on to the others. She pulled in a little bit of a gap, and we can see. This is what it was like for the top 3. And it was quite exciting, really, to see Natalia Gemperle as a surprisingly early starter. It's based on the Sprint World Rankings. It's probably because she had to have a whole season off competing because of the war in Ukraine.
Should maybe also keep in mind that Tove Alexandersson's preparation to this point with focus on sprint orienteering hasn't been that as any of the others. She's doing a lot of other sports with skiing and stuff like that. So I think she started her preparation, real specific preparation today. So maybe not that surprising that she still is a few seconds behind.
Yeah, absolutely. But we will do the flower ceremony then for the top 3 women. The women's competition is not actually over yet. We must remind you it will resume in just under an hour's time with those ranked outside of the top 40, those sprint world rankings. But third place there goes to Terezia Nashikova from the Czech Republic. You can see that's why it says provisional third, because there's an outside chance of some of those ranked outside the top 40.
I mean, the gap is 27 seconds. There is a possibility, but I don't think, honestly, I don't think there is anyone. Maybe into the top 10, but not in the top 3.
And I think on the men's it's more likely, whereas the women's we tend to see bigger gaps. Another second place then for Simona Abersold. She's so very familiar with this position, having also been second in the World Championship sprint a couple of summers ago in Denmark. But the winner today,
Orienteering World Cup Olten 2024 sprint competition today, representing Switzerland.
In a Swiss shirt, she looks quite emotional, I think, about this one. It means a lot to her. Natalia Gempeler with the win in the end. And she does seem to have been adopted by this Swiss crowd, having made the transfer a couple of seasons ago, last season in fact. So congratulations to the top 3 that you can see there in the picture. Fantastic racing from all of them. Around was a very, very quick course. Tricky moments in the end, and I think the organisers will have been very, very happy with the surprise of the levels at the end where they go on top of that building. The athletes, as we said, have had a chance to kind of prepare some of the subway sections around the railway, but not the chance to prepare the level section at the very, very end of the course. Very, very tricky, very, very interesting. So that is the women's race. Pretty much rounded up.
The first half of the women's race.
The first half of the women's race, yes. I'm sure if you've got specific athletes to look out for, you'll be looking at the GPS tracking later at the live results. Still lots of runners to come through into the finish. But we will switch up now for our men's race. Again, it's the top 40 who will be going off within the broadcast window. That's the top 40 based on the sprint world rankings. We will see Kasper Fosse off last. There's daughter Luna.
And the husband, Rolf.
Yeah, so a family celebration there. And we will get on with the men's very, very shortly. We have had our first men starting. Axel Elmblad was the first starter for Sweden. And we've had a few already making their way around the route choices on the first part of the course. As I said, last starter, Kasper Fosse, there he was in the picture, didn't get through to the semi-finals. He was knocked out in the quarter-finals, a bit of a surprise there, but he is the reigning world champion. And obviously some of these guys had a little bit longer in the quarantine to get themselves ready. The team centre make a little team camp. Lots of, they're not allowed any phones, they're not allowed any contact with the outside world. They'll have no idea what has been going on in the women's race. But maybe some packs of cards being taken into quarantine, some books, and maybe some music as well. And just a kind of chance to relax and then get ready, get warmed up, ready for the competition. You can see maybe some games being played there by the Swedish team. So the men's course, a little bit longer than the women's, 3.9 kilometres, and they've got that estimated winning time of just 13 minutes. Again, we've got that remote start out by the quarantine, and it's a case of kind of going back down the hill towards the river. Let's take a detailed look at the course then. Jonas, why don't you talk us through it?
Yeah, it's quite a similar course as the one we have seen in the women's race. It's not exactly the same one, but the idea behind is very similar. You can see that also here we have a few shorter controls in this park-like area, a little bit longer loop here before we get then to this school area. First time it's another control here. It's not exactly the same, but also here you have the chance to go to the south of the house, and as all of the top 3 in the women's race did, get to the control 8 from the east. Then first TV control at control 12, it's the same control as in the women's race, of course. And as we mentioned before, this first part, park area, suburban, very fast orienteering. The differences between the runners won't be very big. Then 13 to 14, the same route choice, same leg, so the same different options. We have seen many of the women going to the south there, 13, 14. Then also here they will enter this subway area between 17-18 before they get to the second TV control at control 19. This one here we have seen quite many times in the broadcast already. From here we enter the old town of Olten, the area where we have been yesterday. Also, of course, the same here around control 21. They've been in there yesterday, but different gates open today, so they couldn't really plan with yesterday's map. Also the same problem there at control 24 with a different level. Not exactly the same control. We had the short leg just below, a control just below the building in the women's race. Now it's more of a leg into it. Maybe a bit easier to figure out because you plan ahead a little bit earlier to this control.
I don't know, I was just about to say I think it's trickier because the women's, you have a control in that section beforehand. You kind of have a chance to maybe pass one of the stairs and then go up.
But at the same time, you have this control just below, and you, if you have a lot of information, only plan one control ahead. And now if you plan ahead that you have to go up maybe 30-40 meters earlier, it could be an advantage as well. I don't know.
Well,
We're gonna see.
we will see, or maybe we won't see. This is, again, quite an interesting route choice. Not quite the same as on the women's course, but...
Especially interesting what we have seen in the women's race before is the next one from 8 to 9, where we had Gampele going all the way to the left. You can see there at the passing at control at the number of 8, and the other ones going on the red option out again. I think it was better the way Gampele went. This is the control 21 I've been talking about before, in this park area just outside. I think it is a church. I'm not 100% sure, but different gates open yesterday. Maybe you remember it was to the southwest, just north of this purple area. There was a gate open. This one is closed, so you have to enter from the northeast or northwest. And you can see that, but the different options don't really matter here. Maybe that you have a bit more of a flow if you come from the red option, because you can continue in direction, don't have to stop and back out again the same way you came from.
Yeah, it's also an entrance you might have used yesterday as well, so there's that familiarity kind of aspect that allows you to maybe start planning ahead of some of those trickier controls later on. So the start list, we've got a 90-second start interval. We do have a few runners already out on the course then, and this is in reverse order for the top 40 in the world rankings for the sprint. And who do we want to chat about here today? Who can we look at first?
The first runner I just marked right now because he was very good during the spring season in Switzerland, and also yesterday. Timo Suter will be very interesting, starting 13:40 with start number 17. Then of course the runner in the very end, Joey Hadon, yesterday's winner, but also Emil Svensk, Yannick Michels and Kasper Fosse, because they have the advantage that they didn't have to go all the way and do all the competitions yesterday. But other runners, Jonathan Gustafsson was very good yesterday. Martin Rekborn, always threat when it comes to sprint competitions.
Yeah, I've marked down 4 favourites in the top 10 who were knocked out in the quarterfinals yesterday. Emil Svensk, Mika Kyrmala, Thomas Krivda and Kasper Fosse. And you add Yannick Michels in there because he didn't even make it into the quarterfinals. And
I want to add Thomas Heikkilä as well, because he was another runner that developed very well in sprint, and I mean, 3rd position yesterday.
Yeah,
very
and
good.
3rd position at the European Champs in Italy as well. Exactly. So really quality sprinting, and maybe because he's a bit kind of newer onto the scene, has developed a lot very quickly. He's starting fairly early in the broadcast. He's number 220. So the start of the course is the same as the women's. But we're looking in towards the finish. Anton Reichenbach is our second finisher. We've had Axel Elmblad into the finish, 15:05 for him. And then Reichenbach will be slower than this. A shake of their head there for the German. This is Nathan Lawson then through here towards the second TV control. You can see he is at 23 seconds then down on the lead.
Maybe interesting to mention from the top run, yeah, here we have him, Fabian Abersold on the way to the finish. He was quicker than Anton Reichenbach at the pre-warning, but he was 50 seconds quicker there. I'm not really sure if I have the right times here on my screen. If I look at this here, it looks like he's 10 seconds ahead. What did he do here in the finish?
He nearly crashed into the camera. I don't know if we caught that on the screen. That was he's literally just in front of us. He nearly crashed into the camera, then he did a backwards roll away from the camera. I hope we see that in replay because that was a dramatic end. I genuinely think our cameras are way too close to the line.
But the line is quite far down.
No, yeah, but if you're going at that speed, to slow down, it's like, you know, indoor athletics, and they do the 60 meters and they all hit a wall at the end.
Here we see it.
That's because there's a camera there.
Yeah, he would not have needed to do the backflip
Well,
thing.
no, maybe not the backwards roll. Anyway, he did come there into the lead by 10 seconds then ahead of Axel Elmblad. But maybe Fabian Abersold would have wanted a bit of a bigger gap at this point. He was Swiss middle distance champion this year, I think, recently.
Yeah, but I mean, Axel Elmblad is quite a solid runner as well, so it's very hard to say. Maybe I can look back a bit to the pre-warnings. Yeah, there is actually quite far behind already, so yeah, probably not the best race for Fabian Abersold.
No, I think he will have quite high expectations of himself, even if he is still really young in orienteering. He's only like a second-year senior, something like that. As we see, Isaac von Krusenfrenner, former world champion in the sprint distance. You might remember the fact that he came out of nowhere and won before the broadcast started.
Or probably you don't remember because he wasn't in the picture at that.
So this is the thing, like the fact that we will have some runners outside that top 40 starting after the broadcast, then it will be quite tricky. But it was quite a special moment then after COVID where you had lots of runners making a lot of progress, like seemingly very quickly, but this because we didn't have any races in 2020.
Here we had Jürgen Bach's lead at the second TV control, 11 seconds behind Francesco Mariani, who's in the lead at that point after 2.9 kilometers.
So Fabian Abersold has to be told to go and sit in the leader's chair. He's got a little view of the broadcast, I think, his own personal TV screen, but we're live then with Tino Polsini.
Yeah, and interesting because he's the quickest of the runners at the pre-warning. But just 1 second ahead of Francesco Mariani.
So I think we can say he's taken the Elmblad route there.
Here it is. And I think this looks good for him. Half minute left until he has to be at the next control. At control 19 it is for the man. Now we get again, you get this kind of Tour de France feeling here.
Yeah, especially with the noise kind of coming up through this kind of covered bridge over the river.
You don't hear the ambience in your headphone, yeah. I hear it, it was loud.
Okay, good. Nathan Lawson then here in towards the finish. Trying to make it in towards the top 3 at this point. The Brit working hard on this all the way to the line. Into third place, then 32 seconds behind Fabian Abersold. And I think we are just waiting maybe for a new leader at the finish. Here he is.
Francesco Mariani with the quickest time at the pre-warning, also the quickest time at the second TV control, and he has 35 seconds left to the finish. Definitely gonna be a new leader here.
Yeah, he looks like he's really nailed this second, maybe the middle section of the course as well. And this will be a new lead here at the finish. So Fabian Abersold's time in the leader's chair will be short-lived as the Italian comes through towards the finish. And a smile on his face as he stops the watch, dives to the ground, and we have a new leader here at the finish. It is the Italian. We head back to the bridge because this is one of the finalists from yesterday's knockout sprint, Timo Oksanen from Finland. Again, one of our comparative early starters, but will he be quicker than Tino Polsini at this point, or than Mariani, who's just taken the new lead here at the finish?
Good race so far for Oksanen. You can see 3 seconds behind. He lost though 2 seconds over the bridge compared to Polsini. Maybe didn't get the same support there as Tino Polsini.
So we were waiting at the finish then. We're waiting for Jürgen Backlid. And different controls here on the roof for the men compared to the women. Different kind of challenges. I think it's definitely best to go down those steps there for the men. And now it's a long run towards the last control in the finish line. Oh, hang on, what?
He did a mistake here.
Yeah, he took a left too early. Oof. And this is what they say, keep reading the map all the way to the finish, or at least the last control here. You can't switch off at any point in this course.
At the pre-warning up on the building, he was 9 seconds behind, so we're gonna get an indication about how much time he lost there. Definitely a few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be gutted to lose those seconds right at the end of the race when things look to have been going really, really well for the Norwegian. And he is into third place, but 19 seconds down, so a loss of 10 seconds there compared to on top of the roof here with Tino Polsini.
And he is on the top of the roof, and you can see 55 seconds left. Should be good enough, but I'm not sure if, yeah, it's going to take a good exit here from that control.
So it's all due to this sprint endurance at the end, because he was very, very close, just 2 seconds ahead of Francesco Mariani at TV2.
But at the control on the building, he was 9 seconds, no, exactly the same time as Francesco Mariani. So this is going to be so tight on the last meters here. 25 seconds left for Tino Polsini.
And he's got the crowd on his side as a home runner. They know it's going to be close. You can hear the arena speaker trying to egg on the crowd and really bring that athlete home into a new leading time. It's going to be very, very close here at the finish. Is it going to be a new leading time here for Switzerland as Tino Polsini pumps his arms and reaches for the line here on the home soil? Let's have a look. It's exactly the same time. Joint leaders then here.
Two happy faces in the finish.
People. Amazing work then here for the two athletes. Now, I don't know how much room there is for them both on the leader's chair over there, but here's Timo Oksanen, and the first chance to kind of see what the challenges then are for the men here. They don't have this control here on the left that we had for the women, and they will, but this is looking good for the Finn, looking like a good route choice here.
Is to go up here.
Yeah.
No. I think it would have been better to take the other stairs actually to this control. Now he has to overshoot and go back again. But it's kind of hard to see the other stairs.
Yeah, because you have the underpass, and then you have the stairs, and the stairs going up and the stairs going down. It's really hard to see. But yeah, you can see he's still got to make the last control in the finish. It's not going to be a new lead, of course, for Timo Oksanen.
No, and the top of the building was 19 seconds behind the two runners, Francesco Mariani and Tino Polsini. Actually, they had the same time on the top of the building, as we mentioned, and they had the same time in the finish as well. So quite similar speed. Quite.
Yeah. That's a very understatement there, as we see Timo Oksanen in towards the finish. Seconds ticking by. He looks like he will be outside the top 3 then. And Timo Oksanen, remember, he made the knockout final, so lots of races in his legs, and he goes into 5th place then. And I can tell you, look, the organisers have just moved a new chair into the leader zone, we'll call it now.
Yeah, it would have been better with kind of a sofa or something there.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a tight race, and you know, there's not many big route choices. I think you can have people...
Gonna be interesting. We had Isak von Krusenstjerna. You can see it 4 seconds behind that, the second TV control, but he's 4 seconds ahead on the top of the building. So this looks very good for Isak von Krusenstjerna, former sprint world champion.
Yeah, he's really been able to solve this problem of the levels at the end of this course incredibly well, and the time ticks down. So he looks like he's pulled up a few places on this last section. He is indeed the former sprint world champion back in 2021, took a surprise win there. Been struggling with injury on some of the seasons since, but this will be a new leading time for Isak von Krusenstjerna, and you can see he's pulled up 3 seconds on this run-in as well. He's got great flat speed, then has the Swede, and nearly crashing into our cameras. He is the new leader.
Very good finish, very good second part of the course after the bridge, and in this Olten, no hesitation at all, as we can see. So good run here for Isak von Krusenstjerna, time 14:35. And here we have him now, the runner I've been talking about before, Timo Suter, compared to Fabian Abersold and Francesco Mariani.
Yeah, so Suter is the green dot there.
And we're gonna have the TV control at control 12 then. You can see just the part of control 12 up in the left corner. I can tell you that at the pre-warning he is 8 seconds behind Axel Elmblad and Tine Polsini.
So here he is. Yeah, yesterday's 5th place.
But here I think, as in the women's race, where we had Natalia Kempele going more over this field, avoiding a bit of the stair running. Francesco Mariani did this, but not the other ones, not Timo Suter, for example.
And then they have different controls here in the park compared to the women. Well, the same one we get the time from.
I think he should have entered the park there at the corner.
Yeah, he's choosing to run all the way around the park, sticking on the pavement.
I think he loses about 2 seconds here to this control.
And yes, we are allowed to be that critical because it might be 2 seconds in it. Every second counts, right?
He was 8 seconds behind at the pre-warning. Then he had not the best exit from control 9 to 10, and then don't think he had the best route from 10 to 11. So, yeah, lost about 7-8 seconds. But it's, I mean, 7-8 seconds can be a lot in a sprint race. This is Jakub Glonek from Czechia on the way to the second TV control. You can see at first TV control he was 15 seconds behind. Now it's 24 into 8th position.
So the new leader, Isak von Krusenstjerna, can get comfortable on the leader's chair. And I'm not sure there's going to be anyone to challenge him for a while. As we follow Jakub Glonek. So he will take the right-hand route choice to control 21 in towards this section with the short hedges, these walled garden, I guess. But Martin Hubman then at the start. See, just checking his compasses, his control descriptions ready, just looking ahead, psyching himself up, talking to himself on the start line.
Another runner we haven't seen yesterday in the knockout sprint.
Yeah, Martin Hubman with good quality sprint experience. So the Swiss crowd will be, of course, cheering him on.
He is 3 seconds ahead of 900 meter ahead of
So we are live with Akseli Ruohola, and he's probably taking the Mariani route, the red route there. It's hard to tell with the GPS tracking.
But very interesting to follow Ruohola, because at the pre-warning he is 1 second ahead of Tino Polsini and 5 seconds ahead of Isak von Krusenstjerna. Here we have him in this subway sections. First time we're seeing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite cool down there, and you obviously you don't have when you're in the subway, you don't have any of the buildings to kind of use from the top level.
But very
it's
good
cool
so far. The race by Akseli Ruohola. Let me see how far behind he was at the first TV control. He was 8 seconds behind Axel Elmblad there.
Yeah, so this is a very strong middle section of the race. And a reminder, if you just joined us on the broadcast, we will recap that the athletes have been able to see how this underground section is mapped. This was in the bulletin, in Bulletin 4, so they've all been able to study it, imagine what it's like, try and visualize what the ground is, so that these route choices shouldn't be too tricky then here, because they have seen it. What they haven't seen is the controls on the roof later on, the second to last control.
And from one fin to the other, now we're following Thomas Heikkilä, and another very interesting runner, because at the pre-warning at control 8 he's 5 seconds ahead of Tino Polsini. So now on the way.
And you're going to like this route choice here?
I'm going to like it. I mean, for me it's not a route choice, it's a mistake Timo Suter did when going to the left all the way around. He didn't cut. I mean, you can run totally straight to the control here. Timo Suter was running all the way around and not cutting the corner.
So Heikkilä, third place in yesterday's knockout sprint. He's also the bronze medalist from the European champs last year in Italy.
6 seconds quicker here compared to Axel Elmblad.
Yeah, you've got to, it's a peril to taking the corners quickly. Daniel Hubman here. He made the semi-finals in the knockout sprint, but he will be much more comfortable racing around something like this.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the same kind of speed needed here.
No, an acceleration and turn of pace. Timo Suter?
Timo Suter, you can see it 7 seconds behind at the first TV control. Did a few mistakes just before it. Now he's 15 seconds behind Akseli Ruohola into 7th position.
Yeah, he looks like so Akseli Ruohola on his way towards the finish might be able to deprive this man, Isak von Krusenstjerna, of his position on the leader's chair. But we'll go back with Suter. And I think there's members of the crowd warning other non-orienteering people in this town to just hold on and just stop. Watch your backs.
But you can also see that they have volunteers at almost every corner, just to see that there are no crashes just behind. Now we are together with Ruohola again. We are just before this here. You can see the building, you can see the steps here. You can climb up towards the control.
Yeah, so he does climb here. This is the route choice you favoured, rather than going kind of out and back on yourself.
I think it's good to go up here and then down the other steps.
Yeah.
And very soon we will get the pre-warning on our screen. So the time here at this control. Into 2nd position here, 1 second behind, and that means that he lost 7 seconds compared to Isak von Krusenstjerna from the 2nd TV control to this pre-warning.
Yeah, Isak von Krusenstjerna was fantastic on this last loop. He really showed a lot of class and a lot of speed on this last section, so it's going to be really hard for anybody to match it. But Akseli Ruohola is certainly going to try.
But I mean, it's only 1 second between Isak von Krusenstjerna and Akseli Ruohola, so with good speed here on the last meters, he can definitely be a threat for the Swedish runner. This is going to be very tight. 7 seconds left for Axel Irola. You can see the finish line there just in the background.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough though for the Finn. He will head into second spot, I'm sure. 2 seconds is the gap then. So Isaac von Krusensteiner's spot is safe at the moment. We do have the likes of Thomas Heikler though, one of the favourites for the race, on his way.
Max Peter Beimer from Sweden at the start. He didn't make it to the quarterfinal. Said that he did a small mistake in the qualification, but had quite an okay race, but didn't just have the speed in order to qualify it.
No, depending on which heat you're in, you had to be either within 32 to 42 seconds of the lead to make the qualification, make the top 12. It's really tricky cut-off point.
So here we're following Thomas Heikkilä towards the second TV control, which we have at control 19. But very soon we're going to see him here in the subway on the way to control 18.
Yeah, I think this looks really, really good here for Heikkilä.
Indeed, he was 14 seconds quicker just at the pre-warning.
You can see he just looks to his left, looks up to these stairs, looks incredibly composed and really making it look very easy. So Thomas Heikkilä across the bridge, and we will get the time at the next control just off the end of the bridge. It's like a healthy lead here over his teammates, who we know is not the leader in the finish. Isaac von Krusensteiner is the leader in the finish. But Heikkilä 15 seconds quicker then. So maintaining a similar gap, I think.
And at the same time as we had Heikkilä at the second TV control, we also had Timo Sutter to the finish. You can see him here in the replay, 14 seconds behind Isaac von Krusensteiner into 5th position.
Yeah, here he is just looking at his map, and not as good day compared to yesterday. I mean, but with all those races, 3 races yesterday, it's going to be incredibly tough, and might be where we see kind of some of that difference.
Following Daniel Hoopman on the GPS and now on the screen at the pre-warning is only 4 seconds behind Thomas Heikkilä. Very good start for Hoopman at control 10 right now.
Yep, this is the 10th control. Takes the corner well, and let's see if he cuts across the park here. He's
going through the bushes.
Oh,
it hurts just looking at it.
He shouldn't have crossed there. Oh no, actually he could cross there.
Yeah, it's allowed, but it hurt just looking at it.
I just had to double check. It's not the dark green the hedges that you're forbidden to cross.
The annoying thing is that just 3 meters to the right you could have crossed it without any problems.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Hoopman into 7th spot, 14 seconds down. And he was allowed to go through here, painfully, and over a fence as well. You can see him climb the fence, but his hand on the fence post. But he could have gone here. Good work from our camera operator. Fantastic. Okay, back to the start. This is August Molén, silver medalist from the World Champs knockout 2 years ago in Denmark.
Yeah, but maybe more of a knockout specialist compared to the sprint. He really likes his head-to-head situations and has a very good speed in the very end. And
the shorter distances as well. Those, you know, just 2 kilometers of running. We're looking at 8 minutes, 7 minutes, you know, doing 3 30-minute Ks around courses like this.
This is Thomas Heikkilä again, very soon to be at this small mistake around the table tennis table.
Yeah, you can obviously see they've opened up some of these like school courtyards for the athletes to run through.
Good choice here, up the building. So you can see it in the lower right corner, 21 seconds ahead at the second TV control. Now on the way to the pre-warning. Punching right there still in the lead, 24 seconds ahead of Isak von Krusenstjerna.
And he goes back the same way, which is what I think he must have been catching up Janis Bonek there, who we saw when he came up the stairs, so knows that is certainly an option at least. So here's yesterday's winner, Joey Hadorn. Out of the route, you can see he just holds the whole map up there. And is on his way to the first control.
But let's take Thomas Heikkilä to the finish. You can see the crowd there almost in the way. Another child on the way to the finish, but this should be the new leading time for Thomas Heikkilä. 40 seconds left. That will definitely be enough for him.
Yeah, it should be a clear new leading time here for the Finnish athlete who was third place yesterday. He's become such a talent here at sprint orienteering, and it's going to be a clear lead for the Finn. We check the time. He goes 22 seconds quicker than von Krusenstjerna.
And we now also know that it doesn't matter if you go to the left or to the right at the top of the hill, taking the steps down of it. And now we are behind Erik Langedal Breivik on the way to the TV control, second TV control. He was 1 second ahead at the first TV control.
Yeah, I think as long as you do that route smoothly and you're not making any mistakes on it, then either way is quicker.
But Breivik, I think he lost a few seconds here compared to Heikkilä.
But it's going to be quite close to the new current leader's time.
And we know that he did a small mistake there around the table tennis table.
Yeah, he did do a small mistake there. Oh, I think that must have been the
fall just before the first TV control.
Yes, ouch. Often you see that from forest injuries, not as much on the sprint.
But I think it's more blood than really an injury.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll live.
It looks tough.
Yeah. You get some toughness points for that. So live with Daniel Hubman. And of course, it's quite difficult to get much from the GPS tracking here as they go underneath the passageways. But we do have, compared to Thomas Heikkilä, but you can see Daniel Hubman then emerging from the subway, the control here and then over the bridge, but you can see he still needs to be, he does love going through bushes.
Yeah, but he's behind.
Yeah, he is behind already.
But he has been behind 14 seconds at the first TV control. At the pre-warning, there were 20 seconds. I mean, that's still quite an okay run so far. I hope, man.
Yeah, and every season we have the question, when's he going to retire? He's been in this sport, at the top end of this sport for so long, and he's still enjoying it. He's still finding lots and lots of motivation, so all power to him. Go for it.
And obviously very soon we are waiting for Martin Hupman because we had him in the graphics, but that's not Hupman, that's Michael Oleinik. He's far behind, 1.5 minutes behind. But we are waiting for Martin Hupman.
Yeah, Martin Hupman will be the next one here. He started just a minute behind the pole.
This is August Molén.
Yep.
On the way to the first TV control. Had a good start, as you can see. There are a few seconds left until he is at the TV control, but he will be within, I think, 10 seconds here.
Yeah, and we cut then to the finish because here's Martin Hupman. Racing for 7th position. So equal 7th then with Fabian Abersold, his teammate, and 42 seconds slower than Thomas Heikkilä.
Next interesting runner to the finish, this one here from Norway, Erik Langedal Breivik. I don't think he's going to be a threat for Thomas Heikkilä, but he's definitely a threat for Isaac von Krusenstjerna. You can see it there. Has around a bit less than 40 seconds left to the finish in order to beat Isaac von Krusenstjerna.
And the crowd really funneling these athletes towards the finish line.
I think it's going to be enough to take the second position from Isaac von Krusenstjerna.
Will be pretty close though, but the line is on its way, and he puts his head down, grits his teeth to get towards the finish line. Let's get the time. It will be second place, just 1 second ahead of Isaac von Krusenstjerna. So Breivik from Norway into second position. Back towards the start now. Stansstad Eidsmo. We're into the top 10 then in the rankings, the sprint rankings. Very, very quick feet to have the agility changing the direction there. Now we're looking for the Frenchman next at control number 12 through the park. You can see his time is pretty comparable there with Heikkilä.
We definitely have a reason to follow him. Adrien Dulin. Only 4 seconds behind at the pre-warning, but that was the reason why we think that the route choice a bit to the left might be a bit quicker. You can see how much it slows you down running down the steps.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the 10th control.
Very quick around the corners here. Adrien Dulin. Let's see if he's going through the bushes or if he's going the easy way. Yeah, he's definitely going for the quick and the easy way here.
Yeah, keeping that momentum up, keeping the leg turnover going.
It's not gonna beat Breivik, but definitely with a very good start here. Adrien Dulin.
Yeah, quality speed from the French athlete. He does go into 7th place. Sorry, 3rd place. And it's exactly at the same time we have Daniel Hubman here.
We heard the boy shouting for Daniel Hubman. Now to the finish here. 30 seconds behind into 7th position. But interesting, very, very soon to the first TV control. I think we will switch out there in a short while. One of the runners who didn't run yesterday in the semi-finals and the finals, Emil Svensk, and you can see that he had a great start here.
Yeah, he was knocked out in the quarterfinal with a photo finish. It was absolutely the closest quarterfinal, but Emil Svensk, you can see from the GPS tracking, it's looking good.
And if we remember back to the European Championships in Switzerland, it was exactly the same. He was not running the knockout sprint due to, I think he was sick back then, and then he won the race, the individual race later on with a very good and especially physically good run there.
Yes, so, but there are a few, actually, there's a few athletes in this last 10 who got knocked out at the same time as him, so it's not like he's the only one with maybe slightly fresher legs. But he does in the lead, he's good into the lead though.
4 seconds ahead of Thomas Heikkilä.
And one of those that didn't make it past qualification is Yannick Michels. He is the current bronze medalist in the World Championships in the sprint, and always a favourite when he's on the start line. He's one of those very sprint specialist athletes. He very rarely runs in the forest.
I was just about to say it's one of the runners. Doesn't matter if it's a championship like his sprint world championship coming. He's only focusing on sprint anyway, so he doesn't have to change anything in his
well, he will occasionally, he'll probably run a Tia Mila or a Jukala as in
but
part
without
of the team.
any bigger preparation.
Yeah, exactly. August Mullane then, he came through TV2 into 5th place, so 18 seconds down of Heikela, who is still our leader at the finish. Breivik in 2nd, 21 seconds down, so there's an opportunity for those runners to get in amongst the mix.
And here we have Joey Haddon. You can see that he is behind, was 27 seconds behind in 17th position at the first TV control. Now he punched in 15th position at the pre-warning, 29 seconds behind, so very soon he will appear in the subway on the way to control 18.
Yeah, but I think Joey Haddon really kind of thrives in that head-to-head racing, and it's evidently not quite his day today on the sprints. Here he is though.
You see their time already ran out compared to Thomas Heikela.
So Joey Haddon up the steps over this bridge, where there's a lane specially reserved then for the athletes. Make sure there's no impeding. And he's going to be maybe more than 30 seconds down, which, if you're looking then at the times at the finish, is going to put him outside the top 4 or 5 maybe as well. Haddon into 16th. But nice and fluid through that control.
This is Adrien Dullen, now also on the way to this 18th and 19th control, and his time much more interesting.
Remind us where he was at TV1.
He was in 4th position, 11 seconds behind, but then 11 seconds behind Emil Svensk. So only 6 seconds behind Thomas Heikela. He also punched the pre-warning, and there he was 8 seconds behind Thomas Heikela, so still going strong.
Yeah, here he is then, the French athlete. So I think he will be a little bit more behind Heikela. But it's kind of building the suspense as we see the GPS tracking from the underground sections, the subway sections, because obviously you're going to lose signal down underneath the buildings there. So it's hard to see exactly where they are compared to the others, but certainly you can see not in the lead here, Delaine, but good run nevertheless.
But it seems as he physically loses a bit of time, because he was 8 seconds behind at the pre-morning, now it's 13, and he was basically only running in this part of the course, so lost 5 seconds physically, just to show you how quick Thomas Heikela was there.
Martin Regborn at the start. One of the finalists in yesterday's knockout, went to 4th place. Again, a good all-round orienteer, and Adrien Delaine. Then here we follow him through these kind of old town streets. You can see the volunteers there making sure everybody just watches their back, gives him a clear run as everybody lines the streets to cheer him on.
And that's another interesting man, another very interesting man, the runner who finished 2nd yesterday, but I think he was running around now as well, the same as Timo Sutter.
Yeah, you're right.
Jonathan Gustafsson from Sweden.
He hasn't quite got exactly which tree it's on. There it is. There's the control.
It was very hard to see from this angle.
Yeah. Much clearer coming in from the other direction. It's going to push him down, actually, isn't it?
He was in the lead at the pre-warning. Now he's 4 seconds behind, so you can see that this route and the hesitation together, 4 seconds.
And you look at it on the paper, you think it's not going to make that much of a difference, but it really does.
It really does, and I think we will change to another Swede here, back to Emil Svensk, leaving the bridge and approaching the 2nd TV control. And you can see it here, it's 4 seconds quicker.
This race is so tight. This is going to come down to some very tiny margins. So Ralph Street, about next one to head out from the start, and we're now into the top 3 starters here. So Ralph Street from Great Britain, of course, he won the World Cup final sprint in Česká Lípa in the Czech Republic at the very end of last season. We'll see what he's able to do, of course.
Here we're together with Yannick Michels, or we're live with Yannick Michels. You can see that Erik Langdal Breivik and so Yannick Michels, they had what I think and what we think the better route here to control 10 compared to Thomas Heikela. But then again, I mean, it might be 2 seconds we're talking about there.
So Yannick Michels, the control is here, and we get the time at the next one. So the Belgian athlete who has such a sprint focus is going to not take the lead here at this point, but he is well within a touching distance of
And he
Emil
was 11 seconds behind at the pre-warning. Now it's only 6 seconds.
Yeah, so moving up here. Here's Joey Haddon, yesterday's winner. It won't be good enough here today for the Swiss athlete. He really works hard on these final meters, but it will be a 13th place then for Joey Haddon, still within the minute. As we look back to the roof of the building here for Adrien Delaine, French athlete here, and you can see he's got the plan sorted then for heading down the stairs.
And for him, it's going to be really tight. Can end up somewhere between 3 and 9.
3 and 9.
Yeah, I mean, all there within 6 seconds.
Whoa. Okay, let's see what he is able to do. As we see Tim Robertson at the start. So he's a second to last starter. Tim Robertson has struggled with knee injuries, though, this winter. He's not had the preparation that he likes, but was just glad to kind of be back racing yesterday. So where is Delaine going to end up? We know the field is very, very packed from 3rd down to 9th place. It's going to be very tricky to see. He checks, he makes sure the punch has happened because he's looking for the flash on the Sport Ident unit, and he will end up then. You can see dropping down into 8th place there for the French athletes. I think for me, just losing some kind of energy at the end, and we look back to the start for the final starter today. Casper Fosse is the current sprint world champion, and he got knocked out in the quarterfinals yesterday. That either tells you he's got fresh legs to run on today, or that his form is not as good as he was expecting. And maybe there will be some tests for Casper Fosse today.
Very interesting start, but even more interesting right now. We're going to have Emil Svensk on the way to the finish, and he was exactly at the same time as Thomas Heikkilä on the top of the roof. So this is going to be very, very tight between Emil Svensk and Thomas Heikkilä.
So the seconds tick down. It's too close to call at this point for Emil Svensk compared to Thomas Heikkilä. He looks at the punch here, and what is it going to be for Emil Svensk? Will he be a new leader? He will, by 1 second. 1 second in it for Emil Svensk. He is the new leader by the tiniest of margins. He gave it everything on that run-in, and he is rewarded with the new lead.
He was, as I said, exactly the same time on the top of the roof. They were 4 seconds apart at the second TV control, and now it's only 1 second that.
And he's still leading at the TV1.
Yes, yeah, he's still leading at TV1, but not very far ahead of his teammates, not very much ahead of Jonathan Gustafsson, even though we have to say that Jonathan Gustafsson now punched at the second TV control and he dropped behind a bit, 14 seconds.
The reason I was just laughing is he was definitely waiting until he got the readout from his Sport Ident unit before he could celebrate that one there. But all looks good there for Emil Svensk, and he can go to the leader's chair. So next up, we're looking for Yannick Michels. Ooh, pretty comparable time then here compared to the two leaders. Emil Svensk leading at control number 19 and now leading at the finish as well.
As I said before, we didn't see Jonathan Gustafsson at the second TV control, 14 seconds behind into 4th position, but let's take Yannick Michels to this control 19, but first this is going to be 18 and then he has to cross the river, so he will be behind Emil Svensk here.
Yes, and by how much remains the question. And he will use this part of the course to try and look ahead. You can see he's just investing time in looking at the map there, getting a good picture of those controls ahead. Doesn't want to make any mistakes in this last part of the race. But he's certainly still in contention in this incredibly close race. Michaels then into third place, 10 seconds behind new leader at the finish, Emil Svensk.
And he was 3 seconds quicker just over the bridge here compared to Emil Svensk. So this is not over.
So we look then back at the routes, and we're looking for Tim Robertson here. We know Ralph Street has already passed the 12th control, but down into 25th position. So we look at Robertson then. The New Zealander lives in Sweden. And then you've got to avoid these little trampoline sections there. So Tim Robertson, our second to last starter today. Taking a good route through here. Tim, of course, a former bronze medalist in the sprint discipline. That was back in 2021 in the Czech Republic. With those kind of combined forest and sprint world championships that were held after COVID. And Robertson in 10th place, 13 seconds down. So we're watching out here for Thomas Krifter, Czech athlete. I think he's been training in the States again this year, doing some high altitude training in Flagstaff.
Quite a good race here so far by Thomas Krifter into 5th position. This is Jonathan Gustafsson on the way to the last control. And this is going to be tight for a top 3 for Jonathan Gustafsson. Punch there at the pre-warning, 9 seconds behind Thomas Heikkilä and Emil Svensk, but 9 seconds ahead of Erik Langedal Breivik.
Yeah, so looking good for a 3rd position. Gustafsson has really made this knockout sprint a specialism of his, but it's great to see him performing so well on the individual sprint as well, where you've really got to kind of push yourself and make those your own route choices. Gustafsson on the run-in then is going to be clearly into 3rd place. So across the line, yeah, 9 seconds off the lead of Emil Svensk.
And here we see Kasper Fosser on the GPS screen, but we can also see that he dropped behind.
A fall again from Fosser.
32 seconds behind at the pre-warning will be something. Around half a minute at the TV control, so I think he's not going to be a threat here today.
No, he must not have the shape then, I think, Kasper Fosser, that we've seen on other seasons, but what he's often so good at is really pushing himself and pushing everything from his body when he's like not in the best form. So it's quite surprising for him to see him so far down so early on in this course.
So if I look at the result list, I think that is the most interesting runner right now out there, Martin Rekborn, still in the fight for the top 3 today. Punch there at the second TV control. I don't think we've seen him on the screen.
No, we saw him at the start.
In 3rd position, only 9 seconds behind Emil Svensk.
Okay, Yannick Michels then in towards the finish. Can he get into the top 3 here, the Belgian?
It's going to be very, very tight. He was only 1 second behind Jonathan Gustafsson at the pre-warning, but both of them really, really strong runners.
Yeah, both incredibly strong. I think it's just going to be too late then for Yannick Michels. He's outside of the top 3, but into 4th place, 14 seconds behind Emil Svensk. A shake of the head there from Yannick. Did not go the way he'd hoped, maybe not satisfied with his performance there, but he is in 4th place. In fact, he didn't make the quarterfinal because he missed the control. Quite a lot of people in men's heat 1 missed the control in the knockout sprints. And Yannick Michels, 4th place then for him, with 5 runners still out in the terrain.
I mean, 5 of the top 40. Here we don't even have a break in this competition.
No, then we go straight outside of the top 40. And, you know, there's some people who made semi-finals who are in the outside the top 40 who could make a dent on the results.
But very soon, I think we should get Martin Rekborn to the pre-warning.
But everybody has now gone through TV controlled number 1. We just saw Kasper Fosse through there, quite low down in the rankings at the moment. But Emil Svensk, our leader at the finish, was the quickest then. And you see very few, all of those runners, I think, in the top 10 are already here at the finish. We look for Thomas Krivda.
Definitely fighting for a top 10 today. But he has to be very quick in order to fix that, because there are many runners just behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. See, he's trying to maybe look across, get some indication from the big screen as to how he's doing. And 8th position from the Czech athlete. With 4 more runners still to come in towards the finish. I think Martin Rekborn is going to be the most interesting of these, and we've had a pre-warning from him as well.
And he's still into 3rd position, but he's only 1 single second behind Emil Svensk and Thomas Heikkilä. So this is going to be very, very interesting between Martin Rekborn and Emil Svensk.
Yes, so Tim Robertson through to TV2 now. And you can see he is 30 seconds behind, so we're not going to see the Kiwi challenging, but we're waiting for Martin Rekborn here at the finish.
I hope we will switch back very soon, because this guy is going to be challenged by his teammate, by Martin Rekborn. Only 1 second behind. Here he is.
Here he is.
He has 10 seconds left.
Oh, I have no idea how this is going to fall then between the top 2.
Do it.
I'm not sure he is yet. The time ticks by. He was only 1 second behind previously. I don't think he quite realizes how close he was. And Rekborn will go 3rd, losing 3 seconds on that run-in. And I almost feel like the arena announcers didn't make enough of a thing about him coming into the finish. I think he was quite surprised at how close he was and didn't get that feedback that he was in the chance of winning this one.
Yeah, I have to say, also our pictures, we never saw him at any point. Camp was very tight in the end.
He's always just been, you know, not in the lead, but never too far off the lead, and kind of
it's
caught
very
back
hard
up some
to
places.
say anything about his race, because we never saw anything about it in the pictures. But obviously a very solid race, especially the middle section from the first TV control to the pre-warning in the very end.
So Kasper Fosse was the last starter, but you can see he's already behind, and he's yet to cross the bridge. So Kasper Fosse will struggle to make the top 20, I think, here, as we have 3 runners still to come to the finish.
I'm quite sure he will be outside top 20 if he can't turn around it in the very last section. You can see it here. He's not within the top 30 at the TV control.
So, unofficial, but maybe the podium of today.
But we look back at some of the split times coming through from our TV1, and we see Guillaume Verove coming into the top 10. We see Elias Jonsson maybe coming into the top 10 as well. So there's opportunity for some outside the top 40 to do well here. Ralph Street, though, in towards the finish. The Brit, he has won a World Cup sprint in the past, but not today, and he'll fall down the standings quite quickly here. They're really, really packed in very, very closely, and Ralph Street into 15th spot. He has been struggling with injury today, but he is into 15th then. And we can take our last starter in the picture here. He's on his way towards control number 21. And I'm not sure why we're focusing on him quite so much, because he's way outside the top 20.
I think it's because he's the last starter, and we have no one else really out there.
No, Tim Robertson's on his way in, and he should be... No, we've not had him at the pre-warning yet.
But even Tim Robertson won't be a threat to the top 10. No. He punched there now at the pre-warning into 19th position, 38 seconds behind.
So this is Kasper Fosse, then his route choice compared to Emil Svensk. And you can see he's taking different route choices here.
That's not the best option to control 4.
And he took a different route choice to 2 as well. I think lost time there as well.
You can also see it seems as if the speed, what you mentioned it before, maybe not really in the shape yet to win a World Cup race, but I mean, you don't have to be in shape right now in order to be very good then at the World Championships in a little bit less than 2 months.
No, there's still a good amount of time to kind of get that sharpness in the legs back in, as long as you've had a good winter's training. Robertson then here, second to last starter. Had a very good start of the race, was into kind of 4th place at our first split time, our pre-warning time, and then dropped down from there. Will be just into 20th position, 46 seconds there. Lots of people there in a similar place, but it is Emil Svensk's day today, as we do still keep catching up with Kasper Fosse. But as we saw from the kind of route choices from the very early section, he was quite a bit slower than Emil Svensk. Taking a few different routes, different to 2, different to 4, losing some time there as well. But for me also, you can get a sense of the fact that he was knocked out in the quarterfinals, losing some time physically. Although Svensk was knocked out in the quarterfinals as well, but his race was a lot tighter. So Fosse already late to compared to the time of our winner today. He'll still be cheered in towards the finish. And so the crowds will cheer the world champion in towards the finish. And he always gives it his all, but it's just not the shape he needs to be in right now. Still, as Jonas said, a couple of months before the World Championships, where he will try to defend his title. And there's the winner. Emil Svensk can take another win on the World Cup circuit. And yeah, it was great to see. He's always got the speed. Sometimes we see some significant mistakes from Emil Svensk, but absolutely solid as a rock today.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the split times at the radio controls and TV controls, he was in the lead together with Jonathan Gustafsson at the first radio control we have on our screen. He was in the lead at the first TV control, was in the lead at the second TV control. I mean, he was there all the way, but at the same time, Thomas Heikkilä was there all the way as well, just 1 or 2 seconds behind, and he was 1 second behind in the finish as well. So it was an incredibly tight race here today. Maybe a bit to expect if you look at the kind of
there's not loads
character
of big route choices.
Yeah, exactly.
The route, there's not any that are really going to punish you.
There's so many left or right decisions you have to take. It's difference of 1 or 2 seconds every time. Of course, it can add up, and then you end up outside the top 10 with 30 seconds behind. But of course, if you hit the right ones more often than the wrong ones, you can end up quite high up the result list. And today we had 3 runners within 4 seconds in the top 3 on the podium. So yeah, that's what I call a tight race.
Yeah, really, really tight, and all of them just very, very solid races for me. And yeah, we didn't really see many mistakes here. Maybe, as you said, maybe we'll just not see them in the broadcast. The mistakes on this roof section maybe a little bit easier for the men, as you kind of described. But why don't we talk through the route choices here?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen them really dropping off from the second TV control to the finish that much as in the women's race. So I think they had a bit more to prepare. But here we see the comparison between the top 3. You can see many of those left-right decisions here important. We have seen exactly the same in the women's race. All the top 3 went to the south of this building to control 8. And what I think a bit better out from 9, if you go the rig one way, 10, 11, a bit surprising to me that we had runners going around the corner there. Then here splitting up, Thomas Heikkilä going to the north the two Swedish runners staying there to the south. The same here again. Heikkilä to the north to 15, two Swedish runners to the south. They're splitting up here. It almost seems as if the Swedish runners always pick the same route choices. And then we enter here the Old Town section, and as you mentioned before, we haven't seen that one around Control 24 that often in the men's race. They had to go up to this different level. Let's see if they approach it. No, they all went exactly the same way here. Maybe a bit easier because you didn't have really a route choice which steps to take up to the building, and it was just like the more visible kind of steps you could take up there. So maybe a bit easier in the men's race compared to the women's race.
So there is the winner, Emil Svensk. Hi. Just a second.
And I think we're going to hear from Emil Svensk now.
Second victory in World Cup. Tell us about your race, please.
Yeah, thank you. I try to look at the map all the time and try to push hard all the way and find the right route choices. So yeah, I'm really satisfied with my race.
Both victories in World Cup and 4 of 7 medals on World Champion and European Championship has been in Switzerland. You like Switzerland?
Yeah, of course I like Switzerland. It's a fantastic country and nice courses, and yeah, I like it.
And how is the crowd?
Yeah, of course, it's really good always in Switzerland.
Okay, all the best and thank you very much. Congratulations, Emil Svensk.
A very happy and very worthy winner from today's race. And we can take a little look then at the top 3.
Now we finally get to see a few pictures of Martin Rekborn.
We saw him at the start, to be fair.
We did. You know, this crash maybe cost the victory today to Thomas Heikkilä around the corner there.
Yeah.
Only 1 second of
and
a
I
gap.
noticed, I think his route choice to 2 was a little bit slower as well. We could find seconds.
Yeah, of course. But you could also find seconds in Svensk's favor, so...
We could find seconds, I'm sure, in a lot of places.
But it's not our job to find the seconds. It's the job of the athletes and the coaches to find those seconds towards the World Championships then. Our job is to highlight the seconds, not to find.
So we'll have then the flower ceremony for these races. It is, as we kind of keep repeating, provisional results because not everybody has done their race yet. We've only seen the top 40 in the broadcast. We have those outside of the top 40 racing around now, unlikely to challenge for the lead, but maybe the top 10, maybe the top 20, you never know. Yeah, in the top 20, Guillaume Verove was in 18th place. It's possible. So obviously, 3rd place then for Martin Rekborn. He's upgraded from yesterday, where he was 4th place, into the 3rd. And strong work from the Swedish athletes. Another upgrade here for the 2nd place athletes. Thomas Heikkilä is on the up and up when it comes to sprint orienteering and rewarded with a 2nd place. And really, it was so close in the end, but this man had the speed where it mattered. Another Swede on the podium. Another World Cup win for Emil Svensk on the streets of Olten. Fantastic run from Emil Svensk, and just didn't seem to making mistakes. Had that high speed the whole way around the course. Looked to take some really good route choices, especially on the first few controls as well. So there you have it, the top 3 at the end of this sprint race in the first round of the World Cup. They've got less than a week to recover then before the next race in the World Cup. Next weekend we are in Italy, where there's an individual sprint race and a sprint relay as the kind of season is split into two. We will do all the sprint races first, then all the kind of long and middle distance, those forest races into the second half as we gear up for those World Championships in Edinburgh this summer. But it's been a fantastic crowd. I tell you what, actually, here in Olten, possibly a better atmosphere compared to yesterday, which you think is better for spectating those knockout sprints. But there's been loads of people to cheer on the crowds, both here and on the terrain. They've been treated to some fantastic racing. It's not over yet, as we have those outside the top 40 as well. But we'll be back then very shortly as they try to get more World Cup points. As we can see, the World Cup standings, Aversold and Gempela joint in the lead at the moment, with Tove Alexandersen. Of course, those three a big step away from the rest as they build up World Cup points. Another race next weekend for the World Cup points, that sprint race in Italy. Hannah Lundberg there also into fourth place. Alexandra Hornick rewarded with some good points from today's competition. So too Cecile Calandry. I think we must get the standings then for the men's, and it's Thomas Heikeler in the lead. So a third and a second place puts the Finn at the top of the standings, with Jonathan Gustafsson a fourth and a third for him. Oh no, hang on, not quite there. I'm getting my results confused, but into second place. Much tighter at the top there for the men's race. But as I said, that's it from here in Olten in Switzerland. Not too long to wait for some more World Cup racing. We will be back in Italy next weekend.
See you then.
Da, genau.
Dann könntest du es wieder vorbringen. Wir sind parat, gerade sofort, wenn du kommst. Ja, genau. Dankeschön. Dankeschön.
Ist gut, bist du parat?
Ich muss nicht parat sein. Wo machen wir das, dass wir hier denen in die Wand können?
Satz 3 reden. Das ist noch ein Test für dich, Roman. 1, 2, 3. Das ist das Intimik auf der Kamera 13, wo jetzt gerade im Einsatz ist.
Matthias Reiner in einer Schlusszeit von 15:33, Rang 43, Rückstand 1:21.
Sorry.
Oh, Scheiße.
Er hat gesagt, ja, durch.
Sie hat fast einen Herzstillstand gehabt.
Entschuldigung.
Ist gegangen?
Er hat mir auch gesagt, ist blockiert.
Ja, jetzt kann man es halt nie mehr kann man es wieder machen, aber es ist...
Jetzt weiss. Also.
Hallo? Endlich mal. Warte, weiss. Nein. Ich habe kein Zettel. Aha. Aber ich bin auch nicht so bleich? Willst du mir sagen, es sei bleich? Willst du mir sagen, es sei bleich? Es ist eben super, dass ich nicht da muss stehen nachher, sondern die wirklich etwas geleistet haben. Wobei, jetzt bin ich also ziemlich durch.
Im Ziel Caterina Dalera, Schlusszeit 16:22, 48. Platz. 48th place for Caterina Dalera from Italy.
Sie ist ein bisschen dominant, ganz dominant, gell?
Tadam.
Yeah!
Gratulieren. Timo, gratulieren. Schon wieder Interview? Ja. Verrückte Sache. Zu mir.
Ich mache so, du kannst auch.
Gut.
Jonas Hubacek aus Tschechien, 41. Rang.
Oha.
16 zurück, also all das Top-Zeiten, nur gerade gut 1 Minute Rückstand. Währenddessen hier Aino Mankar
Schon am 4.
einläuft
Schon
aus
gefeiert.
Finnland mit einem Rückstand von 2:10.